So the small intestine, the food which is reaching the small intestine, that is reaching from stomach region, because previously the food was here in the stomach. Later what happened? The food has sent from the stomach into the small intestine. Now the food which is coming from the small intestine is acidic in nature. Why it is acidic in nature? In the previous video we discussed that the food mixes with hydrochloric acid, the concentrated hydrochloric acid, which is secreted from the gastric gland in the form of gastric juice. Now the food is completely mixed with concentrated hydrochloric acid, and the reason for that is what? The protein can be digested if there is only the acidic medium, the pH is acidic in nature. So that facilitates the action of enzyme pepsin. Now the food which is entering into the duodenum part of small intestine is acidic in nature. Now what happens next? So here two more accessory glands have role in the duodenum part. So they send their secretion into the duodenum part to complete the last phase of digestion. So for the completion of digestion, now the role of liver as well as the pancreas comes. So both their secretions will come and mix in the duodenum part of the small intestine with the food material. So it is called as chyme. The food which is coming, the paste which is coming from the stomach is known as chyme. C-H-Y-M-E. Okay, chyme, the food coming from stomach. Okay, food or food paste also we can say. Okay, the food paste mixed with HCl, mixed with concentrated HCl coming from the stomach is known as chyme. Okay, now one more thing, the food which is coming from esophagus to the stomach is called bolus, right? So bolus is what? Bolus, the food paste coming from buccal cavity to stomach. Okay, the food which is coming from buccal cavity to stomach is called as bolus. The food paste which comes from stomach to small intestine is called chyme. Many a times this difference is asked in the board question. So what is the difference between chyme and bolus? Clear? Okay. Now we are going to talk about only the chyme. So I just missed this information, so I wrote this information, but now again we'll be going back to discuss how the chyme is digested in the small intestine. So let me erase this part, the bolus part, okay? And now let us see how the accessory glands have their role. Clear? Okay. So now the liver is here. Outside the alimentary canal, pancreas is here, outside the alimentary canal, right? Okay, so liver secretes its secretion which is known as bile. So we will be writing the name of this. So liver secretes bile. Clear? The secretion of liver is called bile, and the secretion of pancreas is known as pancreatic juice. Okay, it is known as pancreatic juice. Now we can see here the secretions of pancreas are entering to the duodenum here. So the same tube brings the secretions of the liver, and both the tubes they join to make one single tube, and that enters into the duodenum, right? Okay, so now the liver secretes the bile comes through the bile duct, and the bile duct enters into the pancreatic duct, then combinedly both the pancreatic juice and the bile juice that comes into the duodenum and mixes with the food to complete the process of digestion. Now let us see, where is the bile duct? The bile duct is here. I'll make a blue line here. It goes behind the duodenum part and joins here in the pancreatic duct, right? So after that, the pancreatic juice, the bile juice, they both come and join into the duodenum part, right? So now the food is getting mixed with the bile as well as the pancreatic juice. Now we have to understand what role this bile and pancreatic juice they play, right? So the bile actually is basic in nature. That means the pH of bile is always from 7 to 14. It is highly basic in nature. Now why we need a basic substance to mix with the food? The food which is coming from stomach is acidic in nature. Clear? But the pancreatic juice contains few enzymes for the digestion of carbohydrate, protein and fat, and those enzymes, they need a basic medium. You must be remembering when we discussed about the gastric juice, we discussed about the pepsin. The pepsin needs an acidic medium. Similarly, the pancreatic enzymes, they need a basic medium to act properly. Clear? So the pH of the surrounding must be basic. So the basic medium is provided by the particular substance which is secreted from the liver. So that is the first role of bile. So provides basic medium. Okay, provides basic medium to pancreatic enzymes. Okay, to pancreatic enzymes. So that is the first role that bile plays. Pancreatic enzymes are there for digestion, right? Now pancreatic enzymes need basic medium, and already the food is in acidic medium. Clear? Okay. Now the acidic medium has to be converted into basic medium. So how it is going to get converted into basic medium? So when acid reacts with a base, there is a acid-base reaction. And what happens in the acid-base reaction? First, the total substance will get neutralized. You have studied neutralization reaction in class 7. Clear? So the neutralization takes place first by the addition of bile to the food. Later what happens? More and more bile mixes with the food and converts the food into basic paste. The total food now gets converted into a basic substance. How it is converted? By the addition of more and more bile into it. And why it is required? The food has to be converted into basic because the pancreatic enzyme can act on the food and complete the process of digestion. Now what happens here? The next process, the next function of the bile juice. So the second function of bile juice, we can say it carries out emulsification process. Emulsification. It carries out emulsification of fat molecule. Okay, emulsification of fat molecule. Now what is this emulsification process? The fat molecules, the droplets or the fat products, whatever you have eaten, the fat is always has a tendency to form a larger globules. If I say, give you one example, you will understand. In a glass of water, if you pour some coconut oil and you stir it, what will happen? The oil droplets will scatter, they will move apart. Then after you keep it at rest for some time, again the smaller droplets will come and join to make a larger droplet. So this is what the natural tendency of fat molecule. Now the enzyme lipase, actually the enzyme lipase is secreted from the pancreatic juice, which digests the fat. Okay, the lipase which is secreted from the pancreatic or in the form of pancreatic juice digests the fat in the food. But it has a problem. The lipase can act only on the smaller droplets of smaller fractions of the fat, not the larger droplets. So it has a drawback. So to facilitate the function of lipase, so that lipase can properly act on the fat and digest or complete the digestion, the bile will act on the bile will help for the process. So what happens, suppose this is a larger droplet. Now after the action or the mixing of the food, it is converted into smaller droplets. Okay, so next what happens, the bile has salts, basic salts, molecules will be there. So the bile molecules will start coming and surrounding each of them, right? Each of this fat droplet will be covered by bile. So this is fat and these are the bile. Okay, the bile covers the fat droplets. Then what happens? They cannot come together, join together and make a larger molecule or larger droplet. So now what happens? The lipase will start digesting the lipase will start digesting the fat molecule. So the second function, this process is actually called as emulsification. Clear? So emulsification is what? The larger droplet converted into smaller droplets and surrounded by the bile or any basic salts, right? And because of that, the emulsification process, it makes easier for the lipase to digest the fat, right? So these are the two most important functions. These are the frequently asked question. What is the role of liver? Or what is the role of bile? Both are same questions, role of liver as well as role of bile. So you have to write the same answer. Liver secretes bile. So write the function of bile. Now what is the function of bile? Provides the basic medium for the pancreatic enzyme and it facilitates the work of lipase by emulsifying the fat. So lipase always acts on emulsified fat, not directly on the fat, emulsified fat. So for the action of lipase, bile is necessary. Clear? Okay, now let us see what are the functions of this pancreatic juice or pancreatic enzymes. Pancreatic juice contains the pancreatic enzymes. Now one enzyme function already we have studied, right? What are the other two enzymes? The other two enzymes are the amylase, okay, and trypsin. Okay, amylase and trypsin. Amylase acts on carbohydrates. Okay, trypsin acts on protein. Okay, so the amylase will act on the partially digested carbohydrate which was left in the buccal cavity. In the stomach there is no carbohydrate digestion. Clear? So carbohydrate digesting enzyme needs basic pH. Basic pH is available in the buccal cavity as well as it is available in the small intestine. But stomach has a acidic pH. So there is no digestion of the carbohydrate in the stomach. So again it resumes in the small intestine or the duodenum part. So amylase, that is called as the like salivary amylase we read, this is pancreatic amylase. So it will act on the carbohydrate food which is present in the chyme and it starts digesting them into simpler molecules. Clear? Similarly, the trypsin acts on the protein. Which protein? The partially digested protein which has been partially digested in the stomach. That is by the action of pepsin. So peptones and peptides are now present in the chyme. So the peptones and peptides are now getting digested by the enzyme which is called as trypsin. So what is the difference between trypsin and pepsin? The major difference, two major difference. Many a times this is asked in the question. Pepsin is found in stomach, trypsin is found in the, or pepsin is found in the gastric juice, trypsin is found in the pancreatic juice. Location of action stomach, location of action for trypsin is small intestine. Now third important point, pepsin acts in an acidic pH and trypsin acts in an basic pH. So this is how the digestion process is proceeding in the small intestine. Now the final part of the digestion takes place with the help of intestinal juice. Now what secretes the intestinal juice? The gastric glands which are present in the intestine, the lining of intestine. Like gastric glands are present in stomach, similarly the gastric glands are also found in the intestine, small intestine. So the final part of the digestion takes place with the secretion, with the help of secretion of the intestinal gastric juice. And the intestinal gastric juice is termed as the intestinal juice, and it contains enzymes for the complete digestion of the fat, carbohydrate and protein molecule. Clear? So finally the digestion will be completed with the secretion of intestinal juice. Intestinal juice contains all the enzymes for this three major components of the food, and digestion is completed. So we will be now discussing the end products of digestion. Okay, so what are the end products of? Carbohydrates. Carbohydrate is converted into glucose. Okay, fat is converted into fatty acid and glycerols, and protein is finally the finest molecule, the simplest molecule is the amino acids. Okay, so what are these molecules? These are the unit molecules. Okay, what are these molecules? The unitary molecules, the building blocks of the particular substance. Suppose we talk about carbohydrate, suppose we talk about starch, we talk about cellulose. How it is made? It is made by one single unit, joining single unit with chemical bonds, and those single units have to be formed in the digestive system. So digestion function or the digestion role is to completely break down a larger food molecule into its simplest form or its building block or the unitary molecule which can easily be absorbed. Clear? So the final product, so this is the absorbable the product or absorbable form of the carbohydrate, fat and protein, right? Like bricks make a wall, similarly many glucose will make one carbohydrate, many amino acid will make one protein, right? So brick is the unit molecule, brick is the simplest molecule, right? The wall is the complex food what you have eaten, right? So in the next video we will be discussing the process of absorption by the small intestine. So how these nutrients are getting absorbed by the blood and what happens after they are absorbed.